You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Call, and I'm joined by Brad Hunt. Today's guest on the podcast is Gregg Ritz. We met Gregg at the Park City Total Archery Challenge. After we shot bows with him, we got to know him, had to do a podcast with him. Yep. This is the second part of a two-part podcast we did with Gregg, and we basically just get into archery, a lot into archery, killing an animal in the heat of the moment. How do you handle pressure?
Yep.
We talk about Gregg's archery progression. For those that don't know Gregg, I wasn't really familiar with Gregg. He's been in the hunting TV space for 26 years, Huntmasters TV. He's pretty much...
he's been hunting all his life. I mean, he killed his first deer when he was 12, with a bow. And
he's killed a lot of big animals,
yes.
A lot of animals, period. And when you get around someone like that, there's a lot to learn, because that level of experience is only gained through hard work, hard effort. Yeah. So you're going to enjoy this one. Listen to it all the way through. It's got lots of nuggets of quality information in it. If you like the show, do us a favor, support us by shopping over at Mountain Ops. Use the code GRITTY over there. They got some great supplements. They got great workout clothes. They got nice merino hoodies that I've been using for 3 or 4 years on my hunt. Use the code GRITTY over at Stealthy Hunter. Get a rifle cover, a glassing pad, or the CBD sleep gummies, the CBD gummies for joint health. What else they got? They got E-Charge.
Yep. There's a lot. I mean, there's turmeric. There's tons of stuff.
Yep. Gut health products, probiotics, all that stuff. Check it out over there. And use the code GRITTY over at Go Hunt. The season is almost here. Like I've said, everybody needs more than one map system on their phone. Mm-hmm. It's easy to port your data from your existing map system over to Go Hunt, so you can get all your waypoints, tracks, all your data in there in that tool as well. And there's some really unique features that Go Hunt offers, like the range finding tool, the satellite imagery, the 3D pan and tilt. It's just better. Yep. It's better than what else is out there. And it's getting better every day. So check that out. I think it's with the code GRITTY, you're going to save, I think it's like $30 if you use my code. And you get all 50 states. You can download an entire hunt unit all at one click of a button with all the layers in high res. Like, Go Hunt's putting together a cool map system.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Check it out. Use the code GRITTY over there. And without further ado, here's the show. Thanks for tuning in. It's interesting because I was just at a Western Hunting Summit. My buddy Ryan Lampers with Stealthy Hunter, his wife, they do the Hunt Harvest Health podcast. They have this weekend retreat where they bring a number of new hunters, or just people who want to get a lot of instruction from shooting to backpacking and so on. They come to this event, and it was really great. We had a lot of people there, a lot of experienced hunters, and it was a really windy course because he set up a 3D course. You shoot it on Friday and you shoot it on Saturday. And Joel Turner was there instructing people on shooting. Well, he said, look, same thing with what Greg Poole said. Mm-hmm. Like, who cares as long as it hits behind the pin? And I said this today. I counted a victory if I didn't punch it. Right. Like if I executed, I accepted the float, and it broke when it broke. Mm-hmm. It hits behind the pin because that's where it was. Now, was the pin right where I wanted it when the shot went off? Maybe not, because it's floating around. Maybe it didn't quite hit, but it's almost always close. Mm-hmm. Joel said to us, look, I know that these winds are intense, and it's a crappy day to hit a 3D course. Mm-hmm. My challenge to you is to do every shot as a conscious shot. Every shot is a surprise release. Like, you don't punch it. No matter what the wind's doing. He's like, so what? You shoot it in the ass. Mm-hmm. All right, you shoot it in the neck. Okay, you lose an arrow. Like, you still won because you didn't force it. You didn't punch it. Work on being able to still do the process despite the wind.
Right.
And what I found when I did that was I actually made some pretty good shots.
Yeah.
At pretty decent distances at times. Was I at full draw quite a while? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just kind of pulling, and then it'd settle, and I'd start to squeeze, and then it'd knock me off, and I'd And yeah, then I start pulling and squeezing and doing through my head, my routine. But then it would go.
Right.
And sometimes the wind would get me.
Right.
But it was a victory. Like Joel said, I didn't force it.
One of the other things that I heard along the way, and I don't remember who it was from, but it stuck with me. Some of the best shots that you've ever taken in your career are the ones you never made.
Oh, yeah.
You're coming to full draw. You're floating, right? Your things aren't right, or you get that little, like you're going to punch, let down. Yep. Like I saw you let down today, right? You were holding for a long time, and I don't know why. I don't know whether you were just fighting the shot, but you let down. You took a big breath. You reset yourself, and then you 10-ringed it. And I think we, especially as guys, get into this result oriented. Like I can't let my bow down, right?
Yep.
And sometimes, if you shoot poorly, you just introduced or reaffirmed a bad habit. That's not good.
Yep.
So when we were up, we shot 25 targets, which, I'll give you another one of my philosophies here, and you tell me if the same. So I can stand at one place in my backyard, and I'm blessed. I've got a great setup, and I can shoot to 80 yards without moving.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have targets.
Lined out. Yep.
All the way out. I never, ever, ever shoot more than one arrow to target. And if I shoot my bail, I always shoot at different shots. I never shoot 2 arrows at one target. One and done. Like I'm trained myself. You only get one shot at an animal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like
I do the same thing. I aim for one dot here, one dot there, one dot here, one dot there. Right. I only if I'm sighting in do I try to group, right? Or see how I'm shooting at groups. But that's a different purpose. Otherwise, day in and day out, it's one. I also try to avoid the warm up. Good point. A lot of guys are like, I'm pretty darn good at arrow 4 or 5.
Right.
Why? Why aren't you good at arrow 1? And I think a lot of guys, because they don't shoot a conscious shot, they step up and they go into auto like they're shooting free throws, just kind of feeling the rhythm.
Yeah.
They just pull up, lack of concentration, go through the process, shoot a few sloppy ones. They're like, oh man, those aren't very good shots. Then they start to narrow their focus, try harder. And then on arrow 7, 8, 9, they're in there and they start to feel good about themselves. It doesn't do a damn bit of good if the first 3 arrows were that bad.
Right.
Like you have to have that kind of focus every shot. That's why I always, give Brad a hard time, because Brad will be talking, he's social, he'll walk up and he'll be like, and just pull up, boom, let it go, keep talking, and the results speak for themselves. Right. And then when he's really dead serious, if he's competing, if he's going to put it on a piece of paper, there's the killer comes out and he starts hitting them all. I can't do that, or I will have bad habits in the moment.
Right.
Like when that live animal comes out, I just like you said, I could have just let that one go, but I could feel that I wasn't going to execute a good shot. So I let down just for a second. It took me years to do that. I always would just be like, just let it fall apart.
Right.
It took me years to sort of, and I think a lot of guys that maybe knew, or what do you mean, let down is hard? Well, try it.
Right.
Try it. It's actually, some guys cannot. They have to shoot.
Right. Right. Their muscles feel weird afterwards. They don't have the Actually, you bring up another good point, like learning how to let down. Because if you spot and stalk enough animals, you draw and you let down, you move, they move, you twist, or I draw and I'm not stable.
Yeah.
Right. Like I really try to, and this is why TAC is fantastic. You have to start with a stable platform.
Yeah.
Right. So getting your feet and your balance, so you getting that core set. Because once the core set, and again, I'll brag on you here a little bit. Whenever we had elevation up or down, you would tighten your core. You would draw straight out every time, right? And then you would hinge up or you'd hinge down. And a lot of guys, if you guys haven't learned that, you need to learn it. Go on YouTube, watch, the videos that you put up. It's important. But if you don't start with that stable base, how do you expect the pen to be stable?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that too, where especially at TAC, where a person does the Captain Morgan stance.
Yeah.
You know, one leg up, one back and stuff. And I've learned like I'm not as accurate if I get a more stable platform, you know, then when I'm spread, one leg up, one down, more weight on one hip than another, you know, if I can stabilize that whole thing from the ground up, man, I execute way better shots. Yeah. Not that I can't do those shots,
right.
But
if you don't have to, but again, if you have to,
yeah.
Is it a sure shot, right? What's your range limitations?
How many guys, that's another thing is shooting on your knees. Like I've done a lot of spot and stocks where probably 50% of the animals I've killed on my knees. Mm-hmm. How many times do I practice shooting on my knees? Not much.
Right.
And so I started to do that a lot more. And what I realized was when the adrenaline came and the fatigue and I got up on my knees, that platform was kind of shaky. Then when I started kneeling and sitting on my ankles and just being dead set, man, I started to just feel so much more solid, especially with adrenaline. With adrenaline, the knees were shaking. There was a lot of just glycogen dump, and all of a sudden I'm weak in the knees.
Hey, think about it. If you're shooting a rifle, right, and let's just say that you're down on your knees, would you just offhand the rifle? No, you'd go sit on your butt. You'd lock your elbows, into your thigh and your elbow into your knee on your right hand if you're a right-handed shooter. So you got to think about that bracing. Like on this antelope hunt coming up, guaranteed without a question, I'm going to have knee pads in my pack.
Yeah.
Right?
You're going to be there for a while.
I'm going to be there, and I don't want to fight like, the pressure and this and that.
Arizona, same thing. It's like knee pads they're the end-all, be-all. You know, you got to have them. Cactuses for one, but I've been there where I didn't have them, and you got one rock going in right here, and you're just like intense pain, and you're fighting that when you're trying to just, you know, make a good shot.
And of course, these are a lot of things the whitetail guys, you know, they have their own set of challenges. Being stuck up on a little platform,
freezing rain, ice, snow,
for hours at a time. And one thing I do for whitetails, and I do this religiously, I think some of it because it helps me mentally. Yeah. Is I watch my watch. When I say hourly, like I watch my watch, and I say, okay, it's 10 o'clock, time for my exercises, right?
Oh.
You know, so what I do is I sit there and go, if the buck was there, right, how do I make the shot? Sitting, standing up, then I physically, like I look and go, that leaf, that branch, that, you know, pine cone right there.
That's a great point.
And I draw and I go through my mind, would I have killed it? Then I let down. Yep. Then I put it back on the easy hanger. But it keeps my mind engaged. Yeah. And my muscles, you know, because sometimes I pull it back and I'm like, oh man, my little collar, my hood, I would have caught my string. Like sometimes I find things that I wouldn't have found if I just sat there.
That's a great thing to talk about right now, to unpack that a little bit. I was interviewing Brian Lampers once, and he had been on this elk hunt, and he described walking through the woods, and he was like, guessing yardages, then confirming with the rangefinder, guessing yardages, confirming. And he's starting to get, okay, that's 30, that's 40, that's 20. Okay, I'm getting a feel for the woods I'm in, what it is. He's walking, there's snow on the ground. He's trying to kill a big bull elk, high mountain, doing his thing, and he's going through that scenario. Well, if one were to here and come to there, if there was one bedded there and it stood up, and he's drawing his bow and he's just going through all these scenarios that could happen. And then sure enough, he rounds a corner and there's a bedded bull, stands up. He's already at full draw. He doesn't have to range. He's been getting a feel. That's about 40. Yep. Steps out, and then he smoked the bull. And then a bear, he didn't quite get it just right. Got up because a bear came after it. Mm-hmm. This is grizzly country, you know. Yeah. And then, but it was actually a black bear, and the black bear pushed it for quite a while. Then he finally caught up to it, and the black bear and the elk were going at it.
Wow.
And so then he was like, not sure what to do. Got his bear spray out and set it on the ground next to him. Mm-hmm. And then while this bear and this elk were going at it, and this black bear was. It was after this elk. I think it grabbed his nose a couple times, you know, and he's like, so he didn't have a bear tag. So he shot the bull. Arrow goes through, but the bear heard the arrow and locked right onto him because I think he was 25 yards away. And then the bear just came, and he bent over, picked up the bear spray, and then coated it. He didn't have to fumble out of his pocket. You know, he had got the bear spray ready and good to go, knew where he was going to aim it and how he was going to point it and what he was going to do with it before he ever shot at the bull in case if he wanted to finish the bull, but didn't know what the bear would do. And so all those things thinking it ahead are just huge, right? And I think that's I see that in a tree stand. I've hunted some great country for blacktails and for whitetails, and I hunted for years for blacktails in my backyard out there in the Willamette Valley. You could get 2 tags a year, and we'd go up below Mount Hood into Estacada and hunt whitetails or blacktails in there. And you'd hunt all season, you freeze your butt off, you know, waiting for the rut to come, and it's just this exciting time in a tree stand as you're getting these bucks that are migrating or whatever. And then I'd see my buddy in the tree, and his bow would be hanging there. No arrow knocked, hands in his pocket. He's not running through all the scenarios. What if a buck comes from there? What if a buck comes from there? What if it comes from there? What if it does this? Same thing when I was in Ohio hunting whitetails. I noticed, like, I got my arrow in my lap for hours. I'm like this. I'm in a spot where it's like I don't have any other time.
Right.
And I don't want this moment to pass. Few years back, I did a hunt for muleys late season in the snow. And it was an epic hunt.
Oh,
and
was it?
I should have killed some giant bucks. But I did some rookie things where I underestimated the prowess of mule deer. I thought I could get away with so much in a tree stand for mule deer because they're mule deer. And it's true, but not for the big bucks. Those 180-inch bucks, they were like, boom.
Yep.
Saw me right away. They heard me. They could hear my heart beating when the snow, and it was just dead. I'd never experienced that kind of silence before. When we had a fresh snow and it was super deep, and the next morning, if I whispered, my buddy that was like 100 yards away could hear the sound.
Yep.
That's the weirdest. So a lot of things I learned on that hunt. It was brutal. And then I talked to guys who hunted the bow zone and areas where there's that sub-zero, those super cold temps, and how sound carries and what the snow does. And I got skylined in the tree. A lot of things went wrong, but I had a beautiful timber buck come out, stickers everywhere, heavy horned, comes walking under me. And I just was in a bad tree. It was a bad setup. I was foolish. I'm skylined, you know, any movement, you know, he was his sixth sense was just, he knew I was there. So he got nervous. He didn't see me, but I knew I couldn't move because his behavior was one way and then it was another, like he knew. But he still wanted to go through this little pinch. You know, and so he starts going, he's a little nervous, starts going. Well, my buddy, the buck is on his way. He could have been at full draw and waiting for that deer to come, and it was going to stop. It was going to pass in front of him at like 20 yards. But instead, he's on his phone reading a book, Jack Carr Terminal List. He's just reading it on his Kindle, you know. Buck comes walking right under him, and he looks up, and it's 20 yards. And I'm watching because we're probably 300 yards apart. Both on this pinch because they come from one side or the other. Oh, man, it was brutal. And then, of course, he was disappointed because that thing looked up at him when he tried to reach for his bow.
Sure.
Blew out of there. And 2 hours later, another giant comes walking by, just out of range for me, like 50 yards. I just didn't feel like I had that, and it never gave me a moment. It just never stopped. Walks all the way to him. I look at him, and he's on his Kindle again. He just couldn't get enough of that Terminal List. And he was reading it again, and it passed under him at 18 yards. But this buck was real different. He got the bow off, and the buck looked at him, just kept walking, came to full draw, and he's like, meh, meh. And every time he made a little grunt, the buck would just do a little jog, little kick up. Didn't give two craps that he was there, really. Looked at him a couple times, and every time he was about to get it to stop, then he got more desperate, and all it did every time was just
hop a little bit,
and just so he let one go, like kind of leading it because it was so close, missed it. But that's like, again, being prepared for what might happen. Like, because you only get those moments. He thought, well, I had the epic moment. I'm not going to have two in the same day.
Right.
And then he did.
Right. But you know what? Keeping that faith, but always, I think it does keep you mentally sharp when you start playing in your head. If they come from here, if they do this, if that happens.
Yeah.
And of course, how many deer has a cell phone saved over the years? Yeah. I know on whitetails it has saved a lot.
Well, I think drawing your bow, like you said, is so important because especially when you're wearing a lot of clothing,
yep.
You'll find out, oh, I'm hitting this or I'm hitting that. And for me, just getting the blood flowing. Like yep. I'll always get warmer right away when I draw my bow in a stand.
Yep. No doubt. Muscles start to move.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. We're shooting all summer long. Almost every day. We're doing events like this. And I don't know about you, but once hunting season starts, like I got to force myself to practice.
Yeah.
Because I'm hunting.
Yeah, that's where I've been taking to bringing multiple arrows with me in my pack, just 3 or 4 extras, along with a lot in the quiver. And then I'm bringing different tips where I can just shoot 20, 30 yards into stumps, get a few rounds in every day, because my effective range drops dramatically. Arizona, like I throw a target outside the truck, I'm hunting or side by side. I'm glassing for coos and muleys, and I'm shooting my bow for 2 hours in the morning as I glass here and there. Oh, I see one. I put it to bed. I shoot a few more. I go after it. Right? Every day, I'm like flinging morning, noon, and night arrows. My effective range is pretty far. I'm very accurate because it's 2 weeks.
Right.
Just always dialed. I'm hitting coos deer. I'm feeling confident at some of these ranges. When I go mountain hunting, that whole thing changes. And within a week or two of not shooting, I stop being so sharp. My effective range goes down, sadly, goes down a lot further than it should. When I was in high school and then college and did a lot of intramural sports, and basketball was one of them. And when I could sit on the free throw line and shoot all day, every day, and practice a lot, had good handles, could shoot the ball quite well. Take 3 months off, I felt like I had 2 left feet. I couldn't find the basket. It would take some time to like get sharp again. And I think that's, for me, I was quick to gain it and quick to lose it, quick to gain it. I see some guys who it's like they can step out and they can repeat it, that same exact process, the same shot over and over again. I lose it. I'm just that. I do. But that's why if I can just stay with it all the time, stay
but you
sharp.
know, it's true with any sport and virtually anybody. I was talking to Levi Morgan. He just won the Triple Crown. Right. And, you know, we were on the phone talking, and because he's a big land manager, loves whitetails, he's got a great place in Pennsylvania. So we're always comparing those. What seeds you're planting? When are you putting them in? And so it really was nothing more than just guy talking about deer. And I'm like, hey, congratulations. And I said, because I like to learn from winners.
Yeah.
I'm like, why was this year different? And he goes, I set out to win. I go, well, don't you always set out to win? He said, no. I said, normally he goes from tournament season to hunting, you know, then to farming, back into tournament season. He said, I started practicing earlier. I got my bow done earlier. He said, I wanted to have a bigger lead to win. He said, I've gotten to the shoot-offs and the final so many times, and it's like one arrow here or there. And he said a lot of times, you know, I do walk away with the trophy, but I didn't have the lead going in. Right.
Interesting.
And here's one of the best archers in the world. He said this year, he said, I put more time and more practice, you know, preparing myself. And he said, that's why I'm winning earlier in the season than later in the season when I'm playing catch up. So just something that stuck with me.
I'm thinking about that. Like, there's a lot of guys, especially guys that follow my stuff, because we do a lot of adventure backpacking kind of stuff. A lot of it's backpacked in pretty far, and a lot of our community works hard on fitness. You know, it's fun to build muscle. It's fun to work out. It's fun to like, so they do that, but I don't think a lot of them have mastered shooting or have attempted to make that a discipline that they're exceptional at. And you can see that it's sad too. It's disappointing because it's also ironic how much money they spend, how much preparation they put in to go on an archery elk hunt for a few weeks, a couple, their vacation time and all that, all dialed in, only to hardly become proficient with a bow. And then they put themselves in those moments right after all that hard work and sacrifice for 10 days or something, 7 days. And then they actually don't have the skill set to make the shot.
Right.
It's kind of surprising.
It'd be interesting, if we had a group of your listeners and your viewers here and say, okay, guys, when was the last time you shot your bow? I'd probably all put their hand up, at least within the last few days. Great. Why did you shoot your bow? What was your purpose when you went out, when you grabbed your bow and said, I'm going to go take the next 20 minutes? What was it, to sight it in? Was it to work on your equipment? Was it to tune it? Was it to learn pin placement? Was it to work on anchor point? Was it to work? So you got to break those down. It's not like I'm going to go snatch a barbell and just rip it over my head. No, I got to understand what the cues are and hit those cues. I got to break it down into fundamentals. You shoot with a purpose. So every time I go out, like, why am I going out? Now, there are times I go out and be like, all I want to do is just shoot my 3D targets and have fun.
Yeah.
And it's kill or no kill. So it's a little bit more relaxing. Some days, I'm working on super tuning my bow, and then others are pin placement. So I'll go out there and I'll take a 5-spot. And everyone likes to shoot at the center of a 5-spot target, right? Or a Vegas target, whatever, that style, round target, round pin, round housey, round peep, 20 yards, right? Suppose we went out right now and I said, I want you to run the clock for me. Start with 12, 3, 6, and 9. 4 hours, one target. Nothing in the bullseye. Nothing in the bullseye. So when I say 12 o'clock, I want it right on the edge. It forces your brain to go, because now, which you were saying about Brad, the muscle memory, a lot of guys can sit there 20, 30, even 40, and in good condition, circle and circle and circle, boom, I put it in there. If I tell you go shoot 12 o'clock, they go, what do you mean shoot 12? And it totally messes with them.
We talked about that too. Okay. It's interesting because what they do, and I do it, right? I just want to put it on the dot.
I know.
I just want to put it on the dot. We were talking about when you come up on a target on a 3D shoot, a total archery challenge, sometimes it's right where a rock or a tree is, right? And you need to have that arrow go right next to the tree or right next to the rock to hit the good spot. And everyone will step up to the line, and then they will just move that pin away from the good spot.
Yep.
Because they're psyched out by the tree or the rock that's in front of it. And it's like, no, I want my arrow to go right where the pin is, right here. And it's a mental game to put it there and then just execute and force yourself to make that decision. It's just a decision, a series of decisions to make it hit behind that pin in that spot. And you'll see people they don't even know it. They didn't even mean to. They'll just shoot, and that thing will be well away from. Everyone will group just away from the rock, just away from the tree. It's really interesting. And if grass or something is in the way, again, you have to shoot through it. And yet, it's like and they know they're like I'm going to shoot through the grass, but then 8 out of 8 people don't. They shoot over here away from shooting through the grass. There is something mental going on. You're not actually overcoming that mental thing. And that's interesting on the dots, because that's a great exercise with just your target the way it is. Just aim for 12 o'clock rather than aim for center. Correct. And now you're going to have to avoid the habit.
Avoid the habit.
Not autopilot.
Right. And that's really, so we're building fundamentals, which obviously having good fundamentals develop good habits, develop good results. But sometimes it's just like working out. Okay. If you did the same workout every day, right? Same number of reps, same number of sets, are you going to see the progress as opposed to varying workouts, varying weights, varying speeds?
Right. No, you're not going to see it.
You wouldn't see the growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the same concept put into a different package.
Or you could just be really good in in these spaces, but you've got a really weak spot outside of that.
Right.
It's kind of like the guys I was telling on the 3D shoots, aiming for kill shots.
Mm-hmm.
They just kept target after target. They just kept going right back to the crease, right back to the 12 spot. They've shot that course so many times in the 3D, and they go up there with their buddies all the time, and they have a habit of where to put that thing. And that's what scared me the most when we were hanging out. I'm like, we've talked about it 3 or 4 times, and like 3 targets in a row, you still failed to put it. Like, your subconscious is doing something here that you're not consciously overriding.
Right.
That's going to cost you your opportunity.
Correct.
You know, and it bothers me when I do it. It bothers me when my subconscious I know it because I put it in, like, I know I needed to shoot through the grass.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I hit the tip of the shoulder well away from it. Like, what?
Right.
It's because I didn't consciously force it where it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that disappoints me because I want to be in charge. I don't want to just be autopilot.
So another training exercise I do, you should try this.
Okay.
You're shooting, what size pins are you shooting? 19,000, 10,000 fiber?
I'm not sure.
So when I have my Western hunts, okay, so when I do tack, when I do my antelope hunt, if I have a mule deer hunt, right, I'll shoot a 10,000 pin. When I whitetail hunt, elk hunt, I'll shoot a 19,000 pin. So start at 20, but work out to 60. Okay. Shoot the edges of your pin. Okay. Of your fiber. It will blow your mind how far the center of that pin from the edge of your fiber is. So obviously you have a green dot.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say it's 60 yards. So I'll use an extreme example.
Yeah.
Right? And
you're shooting for the far left edge of your pin?
So let's just start at 12 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
To give everybody who's listening a visual. So you have a green pin in the top of the fiber.
Yep.
Okay.
That's your aiming. That's where you're putting it on the kill zone.
I'm no longer putting my pin on it. I'm putting the top edge.
How many guys do that?
Huh?
I bet. So what you're saying is it's an eye opener for you because a lot of guys peek. Is that what you're saying? Like they put their pin on there and it's a big pin. It's obscuring the target and they want to see the target. So they pull that pin down.
And it goes to the concept from the movie The Patriot, right? Now, of course, the saying's an old saying is aim small, miss small. Right? It's one thing to put your pin where you want. It's another to put a portion of your pin or understanding the edges of your pin and what they can do. Sometimes
that would be a hard mental game to force. I can tell you right now, I will not like that. I will not like to use the top edge of my pin. I will fight where to put that. As it is right now with the pin gapping I'm doing with because I've been shooting a Garmin Zero a lot in Arizona and some of my hunts. Well, I have single pin accuracy. I just hold and do my thing, right? And I can tell you right now, like that single pin accuracy, it's made me a little bit lazy in the 20, 30, 40, 50 yard gapping. So when I have a 45 yard shot and I got to split those two pins, I like to take a pin and bury it right where I want it and just really focus on holding it in that spot. I can really stick it really effectively. When I split a pin, there's no pin on it.
Right.
It's the middle of the two. That takes a lot of practice. It has taken a lot of practice for me to be disciplined about that because there's not a pin I'm actually forcing to go there.
Right.
And so sometimes I've actually looked at where they land and then I take the top pin and I try to pick a new spot and bury it there instead of not have a pin to bury, just air. All of that stuff is hard for me. I'm working on it. And when I'm at full draw, that's the shots that take longer are those shots.
Sure. But think about somebody who's running, 3 or 4 pins in a setup, right? What do most of them think, right? I got whatever. Let's say it's 20, 30, 40, 50.
Yeah.
Okay. I got 20, 30, and anything in between those, I use it between the pins.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's 27, right?
Right.
Or 28 or 23.
It's not the same as 25.
Correct.
Yeah.
But learning.
Especially when you're 40 and 45, right? And you're pin gapping there. Maybe you're flat enough you're fast enough with your arrow speed.
But why not use the bottom or top of your fiber?
Right. That's what I was practicing tonight was, okay, 47.
Mm-hmm.
Do you put your 50 low? You know?
Right.
And what I started to find was you need to practice that, especially on 3D, so you know where you like to stick that pin on those half increments. But having a single pin, though, is really nice. But I want to practice that. I want to get better. I was better at it one time when I was shooting it a lot, but it's been a while.
Well, I mean, I personally like a single pin mover. Now, as soon as I got home, as I got notification shipped today, HHA just came out with a new pin configuration called the Rise, which is still a vertical pin, but there's actually two fibers.
Yeah.
Different colors.
Okay.
So the top one is whatever you put your tape on.
Yep.
And then the bottom one, is whatever you learn it is, right?
But you can have like a 20-30 fixed pin basically, or whatever.
Right. So let's just say it's 10 yards different. So if I'm 40, then I know I'm 40 and 50 or what have you. And based off your arrow speed and your bow and your draw length and all that, you figure that out.
Yeah.
But then it just gives you a place and space to mark things, because when you're full draw on that elk, also lunges after that cow, right? And you go through that product, like I can't let down. I'm in my window, and he just went from, I was at 33. I was at 33. He probably gained 7. Okay. So,
yeah.
But unless you practice that, you don't know it.
No.
But that's why I say, and we could go on and on about that stuff, but the bigger picture is, at least for me, and everybody's different, why am I going out there? Like when I go to work out, I have a plan.
Yeah.
Right. I don't go out there and go, what's the first dumbbell that I trip over and lift it? I have a plan.
I say this all the time with guys' fitness. Are you going out there to exercise? Or are you going out there with a program to build a end result?
There you go.
And with a program, it's like Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this, Wednesday I do that. With just exercise, you just go out and you just move. Which one's optimal? Well, the one with a program, with a plan. And archery, like you said, I don't necessarily have it written down, but yeah, when I go out there, I'm practicing for a specific thing. Like I don't like maybe the anchor point. I'm kind of messing with that, or I'm focused on aligning my peep with the sight housing. Like, don't let that creep around. Like, try to stick that and really focus on. And I pick one or two things, and those are my things. I'm wherever I think I'm weak. Generally, I'm trying to get better. But I don't just sit there and
fling arrows.
Right. No,
but
I
think a lot of guys, to your earlier point, right? They may go to the gym and they have the program in the gym.
Yeah.
And then they go out and they either spend time tinkering on their bow.
Yeah.
Right. Or they go out and they shoot 20, 30, 40 and okay, I'm done.
But see, that's the thing. Like you're onto something here. Joel Turner talks about this all the time. You're not improving your shot if you're just doing repetitions.
Right.
Repetitions you can't treat, shooting free throws, right? It's a stroke. You get a feel for it. There's like a feel. That's not how you should shoot a bow. It's not how you should shoot a rifle. And that's kind of how our body wants to do it. Right. Just sort of in that flow mode, subconscious. So we go out there and we fling arrows and we think we're shooting free throws. We're thinking, well, I'll get a feel for it. The more I do this, the more I'll just feel it. You're not shooting a recurve. Right. You're not instinctive shooting. This isn't the same thing. Overcoming the subconscious mind with consciousness and deliberately, like he says, there's an explosion coming.
Right. That's right.
There's an explosion coming when that shot goes off. And there's precognition behaviors that you're putting into that just before the shot goes. And so you're maybe just dropping your shoulders, tweaking. You're anticipating that moment, and you're doing something, and you're you're involuntarily, your body is doing things because it knows exactly that you're going to punch it now.
Mm-hmm.
And overcoming, that's the whole point of having that controlled shot is you're saying, no, I'm just going to, I don't quite know exactly. I'm just slowly pulling through and accepting that float. And so when it goes off, I can't put any precognition input into it before that shot breaks because my body didn't know when it was going to break.
Right.
And if you're not doing that, then if you're just doing the other way, like it's a free throw, all those repetitions are you're just the same shooter you were the day before.
Right.
Nothing improved. That was really hard to accept or to get a grip on.
It is. It is. But once you learn to build confidence in that, to accept that explosion, it's going to happen, and embrace it and train for it.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
It is. So before you go, you've killed a lot of animals. Way more than me, like stacks. So I want to know, Lamper's the same way. Like I go into his garage and I see is the number of archery and other animals taken, and I'm like, that's a lot. So what's your process? Do you have one like in your head? You know, we talked about buck fever a little bit. I think a lot of newer guys or guys that are coming up, they're just really, I get a lot of emails from guys saying, dude, I did everything. And then that animal came out and I missed at 15 yards, 20 yards. And I just want to throw it all away. I want to quit. Or, you know, I'm so frustrated. What is kind of what's the sort of kill mode, prey mode, like beast, like the predator mode that you're in? You are a killer. So what's that process? How do you stay calm?
I hope I can summarize this in a way that people understand it. And I think you will, is I work really hard to stay present. I'm not thinking, what is the result? The trophy's not hanging on the wall. I'm not thinking about that Instagram post, right? I'm not thinking about anything other than if it's as simple as I click my release on, right? You sit there and watch. What's the next thing I have to do? Okay, when he hits there, I'm going to draw my bow. I don't think about anything beyond drawing my bow. Like, for me.
That's really good. That's really good.
Right. I stay present. Like, literally, I don't think beyond, because once I'm in the moment, I can only control what I'm going to do at that moment. So I stay present. When he's there, draw my bow, okay? Then when I draw my bow, then my brain goes, I can aim. Put the pin on him, right? So once I'm aiming, then I sit there and go, is this the sure shot? Do I feel like I go through that? If I'm willing, now, you know, kind of take a little sidebar. You probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I aim at hundreds of animals in a year I never shoot at. I draw my bow, the doe comes by, I put the pin on the doe, right? Same thing.
Yep.
Let it down. You would have died. I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let that 150-inch whitetail go because he was 4.5 years old. Right. Or I let that mule deer buck go, or I let that cow go. I draw on a lot of animals.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing I don't do is execute that last piece.
What do you think is happening when when you say you just stay present? What is that? What about that is helping you stay, like, preventing all the anxiety? What is it?
I think because I'm not complicating my mind. Like, literally, a fighter jet could fly over, right? A bomb could go off next. I would have no idea. because I try to put all my energy into that one aspect of, okay, wait, draw, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm just trying to think of one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I'm not playing chess at this thing where I'm thinking 3 steps ahead. Because when I get ready, when I clip that release in, it's a.
I'll give you an analogy. I think that goes along with this, and I think you're spot on. Actually, I heard. I was listening to a discussion where someone asked Jordan Peterson, intellectual, like, how do you you give a lot of lectures, in front of big people, important people, like, how do you, when you get up there, how do you not freeze or forget what to say or choke under all that pressure, all those people there? And he said, I just focus on my message. My message is it. I don't think about, and he said, this is a hard thing for introverts, easier for extroverts, harder for introverts. Introverts are painfully self-conscious, painfully aware of themselves in space. They have a natural tendency, an introverted person, to be aware of what they look like in front of other people and wonder, am I looking correct? Am I presenting the right way? A lot of people are watching me. When that happens, a lot of anxiety is introduced into the interaction, where an extroverted person is like, doesn't even think twice about, do I look stupid right now? Right. They're so unaware. There's so little self-consciousness that they're free. They don't have the anxiety. So they're just out talking. They're not even thinking about how do I look with all these people. It's like when a camera's in your face and you're sitting there, and there are people who just don't even notice the camera's there. Right. And then there are people who know that they just picture the 10,000 people who will watch this moment at home, and they're just like, they freeze.
But they're no longer present. Their mind has left.
That's it.
Right? And is thinking about a result, or what if, or do I look poorly? Or
that's how you miss, right? Because you're not in the present moment. Like a bull elk comes walking in, and you're focused on your message, or you're focused on your process and just executing. You're not going, this is my moment. My buddies are going to be blown away. This is a giant bull. You're already picturing yourself, with trophy shots and elk steaks at home, and you're done. You've already jumped ahead. Right. All of a sudden, you're not present. You're not in the moment. Right. And there's a lot more adrenaline, I think, and a lot more anxiety that comes into play there. So how does one stay present then? How does one accomplish it?
I think it's one thing. It is trained. Right? I think people staying under pressure. If you take some of these EMTs and they come into a crash scene, or you take the military, obviously trains that if you're on SEAL Team 6, right? Yeah. Right. They've been trained to stay present, focus on one thing at a time.
Preparation then. Like, you've done it so many times.
So I don't want to sound arrogant when I say this. Yeah. Okay. But I practice so much, and I missed a deer with my bow this year. You know what my first thought was out of my mind, right? Impossible. Impossible. Right. Yeah. Right? And
that's a good place to be.
Because I was so confident. Yeah. And I ranged it. I came down. I turned my sight. What I didn't know, because I had the value of footage.
Yeah. Right.
To go dissect. Right. I play Monday quarterback immediately. Still on Sunday. And in this deer, I ended up killing him. He's 177-inch whitetail. He was coming across the trail, laser trail, came down to turn my dial. And in that moment, he turned. And by the time
put your head back up.
So then I went and clicked my relay song, put it up, and he was just about ready to step in the trail. So he was further away.
Yeah.
Right? And so I look at that going, so when a shot broke it away low, I'm like, I was shocked.
Yeah.
And not from an arrogant, I was shocked because I thought I was present doing it.
You executed like perfect.
Right. Yeah. Right. Everything was fine. But I lost my awareness.
Yeah.
Right. So I learned. So then you go back, and after you're done kicking your butt for a while, because then he snorts and runs off and gives you the hoof. Yeah. Then you're like, okay, what do I need to do? Is always be moving. Don't ever lose contact with that animal when you're in that zone.
But that's interesting, because you were in the present. Everything. There was no anxiety, really. Confidence. Yeah, it's a good place to be at this stage in your life, right? Because I can remember, and I still struggle with it sometimes, being where that anxiety still comes in quite a bit. But definitely preparation. The repetition. Now I do, like I told you, when I do a stock, spot and stock, my anxiety's way zero. Like, there's something about the long process of belly crawling, sneaking in, getting within range, and then waiting for that perfect moment and then killing that buck. Like I just feel in the present, I'm there and I kill. Switch that to being in an ambush situation, tree stand or sitting on the ground in a saddle and it's like the animal comes walking in and I just around the corner, it's just there. Instant adrenaline rush. It's been 3 days. I've been sitting here. Hard to recruit the faculty, like stay focused, kill. I still am able to do it, but there's so much more noise I'm dealing with, so much more like adrenaline. I have to fight it. I have to compose it. Where when I spot and stock, I just don't. Like, I just know I'm going to kill it. Their calmness is there. The anticipation, the taste, the victory. It's
right. And the process is slower.
Yes.
Right. So there's a build up to it as opposed to there he is.
There's
right?
physical outlet too, I think, because like Ryan will say, if you stalk an animal the right way, you're exhausted when you're done. Like it's.
Oh, you use muscles you've never used.
You're in like mini yoga poses for 2 hours as you go in and you freeze all the time because they look at you and you got to sit there for 5 minutes, like as still as you can be. And so you're exhausted when you're done. I think a lot of that adrenaline gets eaten up in something. But when I sit there, it's just an overload on an ambush situation. Gets me.
It is. But hey, that's why we do what we do.
Absolutely.
Really.
Absolutely. Well, dude, I had a good time shooting today. I had a great time on the podcast. I'm glad you came on. Tell the audience where they can follow you on your Instagram. What's your Instagram?
So, Huntmasters TV is Instagram.
At Huntmasters TV.
At Huntmasters TV. And then Huntmasters on TikTok.
Okay.
And then Gregg Ritz Huntmasters for Facebook.
Gregg Ritz Huntmasters for Facebook.
Yeah.
Where do you post the most?
Instagram.
Yeah,
and of course, Instagram's a big platform between your static feed and your reels and your stories. But for those people who really want to see what I'm doing and where I'm at, like when I head to New Mexico for my antelope hunt, we'll be posting stories every day. And I love taking people along the journey. And I'll be honest with you, if I make a mistake, if something happens, I'm real. It is what it is. We can sit here and we can talk, retrospectively about things that have worked and all that.
Yeah.
We could spend 10 times as long talking about all the mistakes it took to get to that learning curve.
Yes.
And, I would love to do this again at the end of the hunting season.
Absolutely.
Like we haven't started yet. We're just shot. We both performed fairly well for this time of the year, but it would be really cool to do this in like February. Okay.
Let's circle back. Absolutely.
The season's over. How did it play out? And ultimately, what did you learn? What did we learn that we can now, share with the listeners and the viewers?
Let's do it. It's a date. Let's do it. Where can people watch the shows? Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yep. So I have a YouTube channel, but the two best places is Outdoor Channel.
Okay, Outdoor Channel.
So I air 5 times a week, but my primary airing is 8:30 Sunday nights. Okay. And by the way, Outdoor Channel is not only on your cable provider, you can also get it streamed live on Hulu. You can get it on Sling TV, Friendly TV. So there's
what about do they have an app on your phone?
So and then My Outdoor TV. Okay, which is affiliated or owned by the Outdoor Channel. What's great about that is all my history, my library sits there.
Is out there.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're just into mule deer or Western stuff or adventure stuff,
you pick through it. And
you go out to My Outdoor TV and you can pick through. And what's great is then you also can see all the other stuff by different hunters, that you follow. And type in bow hunting and it streams it. So we live in an amazing world right now where we can live in the present and there's so many devices that we're connected to.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, people who do DM me or ask questions, I do my best. And I've got a great team to try to respond to you, to listen to your stories and give you answers if I have a piece of advice.
And you've been in the game a long time. You said 26 years
on TV.
Dude, I can't even. That's insane.
Yeah,
that's OG style stuff.
Well, I mean, when TV was started,
Brad showed me some pictures of you like from way back when. I was like, dude. You had like a baby, not just the baby face, but the baby body.
Oh yeah.
Like you looked young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a boy.
Yeah.
Now you got the filled out, muscly.
Well, and it's keeping up with. I mean, look where the sport of hunting's going, right? And the perception and fitness is a major part. And I mean, every single day, I'm home, I work out.
Yeah.
And it's because I love to do what I do. I never want to give it up.
Yeah.
Like I always think I've got another mountain hunt in me. I can suffer longer, and
that fitness matters, man. Not just in hunting, but just your quality of life day to day.
No doubt.
You know,
no doubt.
I mean, it enables you to have a better relationship with your wife. You get to have and live longer with your kids. Like I always say, anyone can exist and survive like day to day, but are you thriving? And it takes discipline every day. You got to put in the time to be healthy. But it's worth first of all, I mean, it's therapeutic, but you put in the time, it's worth the reward. And hunting truly does help. I don't know how many guys say, I train all year because I know how hard a big mountain hunt's going to be.
And you're right, the hunting gives you the purpose behind the training.
The push.
Right? Like it gives you this goal. And whether it's training with your bow or your gun or physically, there's a goal or a reason or a purpose to do it. It's just not, I went to the gym. Anybody can go to the gym. Yeah. I promise you,
it's like signing up for races.
Right. When I leave the gym, my close friends and people who work with me are normally very worried if I'm going to survive. Right? They're like, oh, do you got to go to the hospital? Oh my God. It's like, I just need food in an hour.
Yeah.
I'll be good.
I know. You got to fight for it. You
do. Well, this has been fun. We'll do it again. And
absolutely.
Next year at this time, we'll shoot again.
Folks, go follow Gregg, especially on Instagram. Well, a lot of my folks are on Instagram. And we'll put links in the description field of the YouTube videos if you guys are watching there. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the channel. Appreciate you. Stay gritty.